Welcome. This is the Midlife Rising podcast. We hear so much about New Year's resolutions, new year, new you. Who do you want to become? How do you want your body to look? All this stuff that comes up at the new year. And I know why you do this, if you do this, because I did it too. And really, it's because we want to feel that fresh start. We want to feel this blank slate in front of us. It feels kind of good to set a goal, it's like a renewal. And yet, if it worked, wouldn't it have worked by now? It definitely doesn't work for me. And yet we keep year after year setting resolutions and falling into a cycle that leaves us more stressed, that leaves us feeling guilty when we don't hit those resolutions or when they drop off at the 3-week mark of January, when we don't hit our goals, and when we let ourselves down. So in this episode, Jen and I are going to walk you through, first of all, why this doesn't work, but also what is going to work, our new process, and why our process works. And we're even going to give you the first step or two. So if you want to start the new year in an entirely different way, stay tuned. You're a woman over 40 who spent your life being the one who holds it all together. But now your body's changing and your soul is done pretending everything is fine. Welcome to Midlife Rising. We're your hosts, Sherry and Jen, twin sisters and modern medicine women, here to help you rewire your stress response, balance your hormones, and reclaim your feminine power. Every episode is a rebellion against the rules you never agreed to and a return to yourself. Join us where midlife isn't a crisis, it's a catalyst. It's December when we're recording this, so I'm kind of excited about this because I've actually already started this process of manifesting our best year. Like it actually starts well before January 1st for me. And yet, for those of you who are listening and it's past January, it's totally okay. You can do this in the first or second or even third week of January or anytime afterwards. But for me, it actually starts in December. Yeah. Do you do this process, Jen? Like we've talked about this before, and I know you've done something similar, right?
I also go through a process of setting intentions for the year. And I'm so excited to talk about it because for the last whole bunch of episodes, we've been kind of stuck in menopause symptoms, and which is important because so much of our audience is feeling the symptoms. But this is going to be fun and exciting and positive, and we're looking forward. So this is for the women who are feeling that, like midlife. In midlife, you start to want to feel new purpose, right? Maybe the kids are going to university, they're empty nesting. So for me, I'm excited to get into this new topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, you asked me if I do this process too. And yes, although I don't think I do it exactly the same way you do, but I do follow a process of looking back on the year that that we are currently finishing and looking forward to the next year.
And Jen, I think that's a really good place to start with the looking back, because I think that's the biggest mistake it's not even just midlife women, it's everybody. Mm-hmm. We just sort of plow into the new year and make all these goals or set intentions or resolutions or whatever without actually stopping to look back. And I want to talk a bit about why that's a mistake. When you don't look back, you miss a lot. You miss like the lessons that you learned over the course of the year. Like we don't remember if we don't take stock. Like it's reminding ourselves of all of the things, like what have we been through? What have we learned? What do we want to take into the new year? And what do we not want to take into the new year?
I never did any of that until a couple years ago when I started this process. Like I would plow through New Year's. We would have a big celebration at New Year's, but we never celebrated. Like, what are we actually celebrating? We're celebrating a new incoming year. but I never had celebrated something other than it's midnight and it's now, 2026. The reason that's such a big mistake is, you miss so much. I didn't acknowledge what I had been through that year or what I had created that year. There's so many things that should have fed my goals or my resolutions, even though we're not talking about making resolutions today, but I would just set these resolutions arbitrarily is effectively what I was doing.
Yeah, it is kind of arbitrary. Like when let's take weight loss, for example. Like lots of people go into the new year wanting to lose weight or I don't know. Let's just use that as an example. And I used to go into the new year with this, it was this like set point in my mind. I want to be this many pounds. And so I would go into the new year and say, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to lose 50 pounds or whatever it is. And without actually looking at, well, did I actually lose any weight in the past year? What worked? If I did, what didn't? Like what didn't work? And instead we just set this goal and go, okay, I'm going to just keep trying.
Yeah.
Without actually, there's so much that can inform that goal. If you look at whether you've lost weight in the past year, you can use that to inform, well, how much weight could I actually lose? How much do I really want to lose this year? And align that with my life. Like, how much am I willing to shift my lifestyle in order to do that? Because if you go in, you go into the new year and say, well, I want to lose 70 pounds, but I still want to eat all the stuff. Well, those don't align. So what worked for you over the past year and what didn't can inform, well, how much am I actually willing to commit to?
You know what's so funny about that is that both of us come from corporate and spent lots of time strategizing. Like I taught strategy at a corporate level and never thought to apply it to my own life.
I know. I never did either.
Like I was just going about my entire planning process in a haphazard way. And then you wonder why you don't actually achieve the things or sometimes don't achieve the things that you want to achieve or actually achieve the goals that you set out at New Year's. Then of course you're not going to achieve them.
Yeah. I think the reason why these other methods like setting a New Year's resolution or I think we should delve into that a little bit because resolutions are different than goals and why they don't work because we're not using everything that we've learned in the past year to inform what we want to do in the next year.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about resolutions for a second because I feel like resolutions are like you and I, you know this, like we use habit building inside of our programs with our clients. We don't just you can't just change overnight. We need to start with micro habits and changing things over time. And over time, they lead to big impact, but they start with micro changes. You're not going to start going back to the weight loss thing. You're not if you make a resolution to go to the gym 5 days a week and you don't go to the gym now, you're not going to hit that. That's just too big of a change. So you're doomed to fail.
You have to commit to something before, at least this is what all the studies show. You have to commit to something, to commit to change before you will actually do the change. But if you're committing to a change that's too big, it becomes too daunting or you get caught up in, oh my God, how am I going to do that? And then your brain just shuts down because you can't see how you could possibly achieve that massive goal that you set for yourself.
And resolutions tend to be I resolve to not eat sugar anymore, or I resolve to quit smoking, or I resolve. And so you're supposed to start, or the idea is you start on January 1st. And then you get through January 1st and you don't even do it for a day. And then you throw the whole resolution out the window.
Because you haven't made a plan.
Because you haven't
So you
made
haven't
a plan.
said, okay, well, I want to lose weight. How am I going to actually do that?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some people are setting a diet for themselves or something. But again, you're asking yourself to make all of those habit changes overnight.
Yeah. To me, it's much better to set a year-end goal. Like by the end of the year, I would like to have lost X weight instead of I'm going to do X every single day. There is something to set, like the habits are a daily habit or a daily process or a weekly process or whatever. So we need to do that, but it's got to be a micro habit once again. So we start with, okay, I want to lose weight. So let's start with, okay, I'm going to do 5 squats today. And that's a lot easier to manage than, okay, I'm going to pack up my gym bag. I'm going to go to the gym I'm going to drive there. I'm going to unpack my stuff, get dressed when I'm there, spend an hour there, drive back home. Like that's a whole bunch of things that you have to try to do versus like, I'm just going to get out of bed and do 5 squats. Like, let's just start with that.
Yeah. So all that to say then, we're talking about why New Year's resolutions don't work.
Yes. And we're already getting into like what to do instead. But I think we need to take a step back, don't we?
Yeah. Just to talk about, okay, so we've said this is why New Year's resolutions don't work. And we are all for setting goals. I want to say that because goals are good. Like that's what drives our behavior. Partially, I always talk about how automatic patterns drive a lot of our behavior, which is why we need goals if we're going to change those automatic patterns.
And create habits then that lead to those goals.
Absolutely. So let's go back, Cher, and just talk about the starting point, which is where we started this episode, saying it's so important to look back on the year. And actually, let's even take one more step back and talk about why this is so important in midlife for women.
One of the things that we didn't talk about was what setting goals and resolutions and things do to the nervous system.
Well, goals, if they're too big, will set a whole bunch of things in motion. And one of them is if you're a perfectionist, it's going to cause stress for you because if you fail, your nervous system will become dysregulated.
Especially if you view it as failure, because that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm getting at is like goals, if they're too scary, they're going to cause stress. If they're too big, if you don't know how to do it, that causes stress because our brain is trying to figure out, okay, I've set this goal for myself and now I don't know how to do it. And now I'm afraid I'm not going to achieve it. And so that causes a cycle of stress and that releases cortisol. And then we get cortisol imbalances and spikes, which then cause our symptoms.
The other thing that I see though is like tied up in that is the guilt that we feel at not following through.
Ooh, yes. And the self-shaming.
Yeah.
Like beating yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the worst part.
Yeah, it doesn't matter even whether it's a resolution or a goal. If we view falling off the wagon of whatever that resolution is, or if we see not hitting that goal or already falling behind in terms of like hitting certain milestones to achieve your goal, then right away, as humans, we tend to look at that as failure instead of lessons. And so that brings on, yes, that self-shaming, like, oh, here we go again. I haven't been able to do this. I don't follow through with what I say I'm going to do. And you feel out of integrity with yourself. And that causes, guilt and shame. Beating yourself up. And then there's that nervous system dysregulation once again, and stress and cortisol.
Right. Because when you're in a shame cycle, that's when your mind will start to spin. Because you're trying to avoid the shame. And so your mind starts racing, starts spinning, trying to fix the situation, to avoid the shame or to avoid the guilt that you're feeling, shame at all, like avoid the shame at all costs. So when you're in, then you start to spin, then you get the overthinking, and then that will also release cortisol into your system. So whenever you're thinking about it, and then imagine if it's running in the background all the time.
Well, and I find that something that I do, Jen, is my brain sort of it tries to rewrite the story. Like it's almost like misremembering to fit